the first meeting I had of any kind was with you.
Yes. Yeah.
For Dieu Lacan, and that was when we watched Carl Dreyer's Joan of Arc.
I have to be honest, like I remember that I saw the movie when I was in NYU. So basically it was like probably more than 15 years ago. And to watch it with you, it was really kind of refreshing because it's not that I forgot it, but there were a lot of like, framing, camera angles where when I read the Audio Lacan, I was actually like, really see it. And in a way, it was kind of like the two extremes. And that's what I liked about it, that, finally I had you as a director, actually say, this is a kind of my inspiration, but also like something as a reference to take of, because it was, extreme. And in terms of like low angle, high angle, and when I read Odo Lacan, I was like, wow, this is really reflects that. And nowadays, it's really difficult to find a director that really takes some risks and in a way that, they really wanted to go extreme. Actually, sometimes I have to be honest, sometimes you were the one to say, like example, in some situation on set, there were like, things where they were totally out of focus and, the character was hiding. And I was not saying anything because I liked it. So I was expecting for you to say something like, don't you think it's maybe like too out of focus? Or maybe like, we should discover a little bit. And then, I saw you and you were like, okay, that's good. And that made me really feel more a kind of like, understanding of the language even more, because I liked it personally and I really wanted to go for it. But of course, as always, the last word, it's always the director word.
I mean, we were able, as with Fred Won't Move Out, we were able to shoot pretty much chronologically.
Yes.
I love to do,
Yeah, I know that.
It's
I was
wonderful.
like, I was hoping every film, I hope that you don't want to do that because of the lighting. But then I say to myself, you know what, lighting is important and that's my job. But what's the most important thing is the story and how actually like the actor perform that
Right.
and how easy should be for them.
They
And
can,
that makes them movie.
it
Yeah.
allows them to find it.
Yeah.
But I also felt it allowed us to find, we were able to,
Language. Yeah.
and a rhythm of how we were changing things, like when we got to what I call the stichomathea, which is this Greek idea from Greek
Yeah.
tragedy, one line. But we use the camera, and the camera would go from one speaker to another. I think because we had gone through chronologically, I felt like, we were, it could handle that.
I think I felt there was time and space. We had the time and
Yes,
space to really condense what we wanna and also convey what we wanna. Because I mean, in most of the time, the crew also was like always with a question mark. Because they never work with the director and the DP that they put the main talent out of focus. And this main talent in that moment was actually saying the most important sentence, or maybe the most important dialogue. It was like the climax of the scene, and it was totally out of focus. So maybe it was obscured by an object. It was like
oh,
hiding.
that
I mean,
was
and we were like, like this is funny. I remember my gaffer face. He was like always with a question mark, like looking at me and say, "Is this really is gonna happen?" Like, oh, I remember also my first TC looking at me and say, uh, like, should I put on on focus? And I'm like, no, 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 let it go. And there was like, moments where they even thought that we were totally crazy. And also, I think it's also important to understand that you prepare, but in the same time, you're ready to throw everything that you prepare in the garbage.
absolutely.
Like if it works in a different way, to actually say, okay, you know what, like since it works like that, why we had to be, like always take it on the idea that we did in pre-production, which it might not work.
What
Mhm.
about, you know, also, I think the black and white, the
Oh,
frame,
yeah.
the 4:3
Mhm.
frame, both of which are, you know, these days everything is being done, but it's amazing, Valentina, as I go
Mhm.
around and, uh, you know, get this film out into the world,
Mhm.
the fact that it's black and white and 4/3, you know, I get some pushback, but it works so well for this film.
Yeah, for this film, it works wonderfully. Even the close-up, I think it was the right choice to
Yeah,
actually do a, with the 4:3 because the close-up was really like all full. It
absolutely.
was not cutting off. I mean, it really, when he was thinking, when he had like a voiceover, when he was actually having like some thought, I think it was really, really important to express with a full frame. I mean, I really felt that the scene when she was explaining that she lost a child and she was crying and she was like laid down. I mean, the audience was really right there. And honestly, the framing feel the entire perspective. And that's what I think is important for an audience to see it because they really felt close to her. And when we were on a wide shot, instead, you would actually feel the extreme distant. And that's actually nice because, I think that's what we planned, and we were like, okay, when we are in a wide shot, we will really like, feel how distant we are and how wide we are in a way, like on the top and the bottom. And so, like, it felt really extreme. Everything was very extreme. And that's what I like about it, that it was no I mean, it was planned. You could see that it was planned, but in the same time, it was very extreme. The low angle, the high angle, also like with the lighting. It was a very noir feeling, and in certain point, it was very extreme, but it worked with the story. And even with the lighting, like I remember, the gaffer was adjusting to that because he could not, like sometimes it was darkness, sometimes it was like shaft light, and they not, of course they were not used to do a kind of like film noir in these days, where you really have to choose between light and shadow, and there is nothing gray, there is only like black and white, there is nothing in between. What I like about you, you knew that was it. And then it was like, when you saw even like the darkness, you were like, okay, I love it. Do you know what I mean? They were all expecting that you would trust me. I was not, because I knew that we planned it, but I was also, I didn't tell them because I wanted to surprise them too. Whenever you were coming in, they all thought, oh my God, now he's coming. He's going to actually say that it's too dark, or maybe that, it's too extreme, the angle. And, I saw their faces and I was like, I wish I had the camera to pan it from the first AC to the gaffer to the key grip and also to the script supervisor. And it's funny because the process of like, the crew to adjust it, it's then like changing because in a certain point after like 4 days of shooting, they were telling me, oh, okay, so we're gonna leave it dark, right? I don't need to do that. So they got in the language, they really got it into, and
Yeah.
I like it also because they got no interaction with actors. I think with the Odio Lacano something special because I think you had, Patrick Kelly, that was amazing, and Ishmedia was fantastic. I think you had the combination of the two that they really worked well together, and I like the fact that actually they felt very like unique.
Ishmedia,
Yeah,
you know, it's interesting. She was just so great in the,
yeah, she was amazing.
you
Yeah,
know, if you think of how much Carl Dreyer's film Jeanne d'Arc depends upon the work of the main actor, Maria Falcone.
right,
Uh,
right.
you know, you really need a powerful performance to be able to spend that much time in close up
Ah, yeah,
on an actor.
definitely. I remember one time I saw, David Patrick Kelly. There was actually like outside of the studio, and he was like a kind of like really sitting and kind of like looking down, and I was thinking what he was doing. I was like, maybe he doesn't feel well or something like that. And then I went really close to him and he was like rehearsing the line. But the way he was doing it, was really like, performing. And I was impressed because I was like, oh my God, he really, when he steps in the studio in that box, basically he really became Lacan.
Yeah,
He was already Lacan before. All this time, even though he was out of the character, he was still like, playing. I was amazed about that. It really
yes, he
was like, wow. Right.
really bonded with the character. I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
he really bonded with the character,
Wow.
with what Lacan was trying to achieve. And he's very happy when he sees the film. It
Mm.
gives him a real sense of accomplishment, which for me, is an incredible honor.
Yes,
And
it
it's
is.
also a great honor to work with you, and it's always a great
No,
privilege.
my honor is all mine, honestly, because you give me the chance to experiment, and you give me the chance to actually, like, take some risks that, I'll be honest, like, not a lot of directors have that. They, nowadays a lot of directors, they play very safe, which, I mean, I respect that, because obviously I like to work with different kind of directors. But with you it's special, maybe because we both coming from another generation. I'm not saying that we old, but we coming from a generation where, no, it's like, they were more experimenting. I don't know why, because me too, I'm like, now I'm 42, but obviously I grew up with movies that, with director like, Pasolini, Fellini, Costa, all these great directors, and which I love them, also like, Truffaut, like director that they never very, like, they were not aware of being safe, they were never safe. And then, like, that's what I like about it, because if they were doing something, they were doing all the way.